My name is Dr. Kerstin Sailer, and I'm a reader in Spatial and Social Networks at the Bartlett School of Architecture. I am interested in spatial and architectural layouts, so the way that we put buildings together, and how these buildings then have an impact on how people use these buildings and spaces. So to be able to go into hospitals, have a look at the complex caregiver routines and how the layout plays a role in shaping and channeling distributing movement, bringing people together, allowing people to talk and communicate. So just to give you a flavour, around 80% of encounters happen face-to-face in a very fleeting type of way, and a lot of encounters last less than 60 seconds. A nurse is walking through the corridor, sees other people, they shout across, "Can you remember to get that patient this medicine? Could you take over this? Can you do this quickly?" So there's a lot of that happening in very dynamic settings. And the layout contributes to that in many different ways. And if we have a feedback loop of getting insights from people behaviours in buildings and feeding that back into how we design buildings and how we train young designers to design buildings, that will then create better buildings, create easier healthcare. We can then both influence retrofitting of buildings, so if we have an existing building and how can we change the layout, but we can also help with design guidelines of how a new wing, for example, of how a new hospital should look like or could look like to inform better teamwork and to inform easier communication. So there's a big outlook on what does architecture do to people, to their working lives. So there's many different angles and disciplines involved. And quite recently, I've started a research project on infection control. How can we find ways to tackle antimicrobial resistance and the path of pathogens through architecture and the way the layout works? Obviously, AMR, antimicrobial resistance, is a massive big problem that's lurking ahead. And for us to be able to apply a different lens to this and bring an architectural intervention to this possibly, that could help solve the problem is quite important. So being able to work with the NHS and with UCL, that makes it all much easier because you have a big organisation at your fingertips where you can test and design interventions, architectural kind of interventions, where you can look at a variety of different layouts and samples from different eras. Everyone I'm working with is brilliant and they're really excited about the research. So that's a great environment to be in.